Hello, fellas and ladies. It is about that time that I feel like I should be discussing The Shrouds, the newest film from David Cronenberg. I wasn't fully expecting to make a video on this one. However, I felt like much more about this movie than I expected going into it. Mostly because I've noticed like a somewhat divisive reaction to this movie. Critics I know personally, or like ones that I tend to align with, like both love and are a little put off by The Shrouds. I was planning on seeing it at TIFF because it's, it's fucking the new David Cronenberg movie. But I scheduled myself to like watch on the last like showing in the festival because I only had 3 screenings at TIFF. And the day I was meant to go see it, my car broke down. So I had to skip that day, and I wasn't able to see The Shrouds till this weekend. But now that I've seen it, I have like a lot of thoughts on it. So much so that like I was genuinely like having a conversation with myself on the car ride home, like just about this movie. Not necessarily about like what it is, because I think that's pretty easy to grasp. Just more like how I felt on it. And the risk of being too vague, I'm not going to reveal too much, but The Shrouds essentially follows a man played by Vincent Castles whose wife recently passed away, and he does something, I guess, to, cope with it using technology that he invented. I didn't really know what it was going in. Like, I knew, like, the vagueness about, it's about grief and all that. But the crux of the movie, like, the basic, like, concept, I want to keep a little mysterious just because I didn't know what it was going in. I do think part of the enjoyment is finding out. And I think I'm like, I'm not down the middle because I definitely lean positive, like very much, not even lean, I just am positive on this movie. But like, I'm very intrigued by the conversation around it, and I don't fully think I've grasped every single emotion on it. And it's so weird because I know what this movie is going for. David Cronenberg's wife, like in real life, recently passed away. This is clearly a meditation on that. And that sincerity comes through, for the record. As bonkers as this movie gets, this movie never, like, fully loses that. The movie doesn't anything more than this guy struggling, like, with, like, the passing of his wife. And it's very clear that it's supposed to represent not exactly what David Cronenberg does, but like what he was emotionally going through. So much so that like Vincent Castle's character kind of looks like David Cronenberg. I love Vincent Castle's performance. I thought he was fantastic. I'm going to get into the divisiveness in a little bit, but just some things I think are objectively, from my perspective, very good. I think the concept of this movie just works. I don't think this movie is taking a stance against technology or anything like that. If it is, I think it's pretty bare bones. I think it plays it well. I think the movie's expansion on its like ideas, like its terms of like concept on what him and this other character invents, gets increasingly weirder, and I really enjoy that. I'm thinking a lot of people will comment on the janky nature of the dialogue, which I do understand, but I felt like that was I don't want to say fully on purpose, but I felt it kind of helped. Don't get me wrong, not every moment works because of the nature of the dialogue. But I did think that the movie kind of operated on this outside the realm of reality kind of, like, existence. And I think the dialogue kind of helped with that. Like, I can see people, like, fully dunking on Guy Pearce's performance, but I never felt like he had like a bad note. It just kind of was the nature of what Cronenberg wanted from him. Same with Diane Kruger. Without giving anything away, Diane Kruger like has an aspect to her character that makes way for like a very confounding like thought process. But everything felt intentional. I don't think there was a note in this movie that Cronenberg like wasn't like he has one over you first. You're not going, gotcha, Cronenberg. No. He's ahead of you in every way. Or I do think I can see where this movie is getting a little divisive reactions, despite the genuine sincerity and the smart like nature of its concept. The movie is very patient. Now, in many ways, I found the patience of this film effective. I think it kind of allows you, because this movie is very talky. A lot of it is dialogue, like not a lot. Like seeing it be called a body horror, which it kind of is, but like that's not what this movie is in a way. Like it's not like The Fly, like a Cronenberg's other movie, where it's like that's a body horror movie. This has some body horror elements, don't get me wrong, but a lot of this is a very heavy dialogue driven drama and comedy. I should mention that this movie's funnier than you would think. Like, I was like audibly laughing at many moments. I was alone in my theater, so I was allowed to. I think the patience allows you to swallow it better. Like, I think people who are vehement defenders of this movie are gonna say to the people who don't like it that they don't get it, which I don't think is true. This isn't a hard movie to grasp. I think the patience of the movie, I never was bored by this movie. I can definitely see how people can get a little, like, tired out by it, like, all this dialogue. But I felt where the movie kind of started to lose me a little bit was the patience nature of this movie kind of gets to a point where, because this movie kind of devolves a little bit into, like, more of a mystery angle. I think that's when the movie loses me just a bit. And because of the patient nature, it doesn't, like, give me it gives me the time to take it in, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, can we go back to the grief stuff? Can we go back to, like, that, like, idea of him, like, you know, taking it all in, and we never lose it, granted. Like, it's never lost. It just feels a little, like, we get a little too tied up in this aspect, in this technology thing, that it kind of just, I don't know. I feel like that's a point where it kind of meanders a little bit. Don't get me wrong. Again, I'm still enjoying it. I'm still entertained. I'm still swallowing it. But I think that all this kind of, you know, kind of missed out on this opportunity to really give us a punch that I think the movie seemed like it was building up to, but we never got to it, which is a little disappointing, to say the least. And it makes me understand why someone would say this movie's a little anticlimactic. I think the ending of this movie, I think it ends on a note that makes sense to me. But I can see how an audience member might go, okay, that's it. Like, that catharsis isn't necessarily obvious or that effective. I can see this being cathartic for David Cronenberg. I can see that. But, you know, as an audience member, I am going to have to ask for a little bit more. But at the end of the day, I do think that Shrouds is worth watching. I do want to watch it again, just because I don't think I've fully been able to summon everything I felt about this movie. I get what Cronenberg's saying. I get it. Like, that's not lost on me. It's more just, like, the tone I like, the concepts I like. It's more the pacing and, like, some of the narrative choices that I'm a little like, I understand both sides of the coin when it comes to the Shrouds, because there is both stuff to admire and stuff to be confounded by here. While I do recognize those who aren't in love, I do think I find myself struggling in the positive side of things. I think David Cronenberg's ambition and sincerity outweigh the cons, and I still found the film thought-provoking at the end of the day, and very, like, sincere in its approach to not only the main character, but Cronenberg's grief. And so for that, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 7 Cronenbergs out of 10. Maybe on a rewatch I could go to an 8. I don't see myself going down, maybe up, or maybe I'm just still 7. If you're, you know, down for it, if this doesn't sound like your cup of tea, maybe it won't be, but if, you know, if you're down for it, go check it out. Alright, that's it. That's the fucking video's over. Let's grab a chair. Bye-bye.